So for those of you who are watching this video after the Kahoot, I just wanted you guys to know you guys can play the Kahoot on your own. If you guys go to the teacher notes section under the Science 90 tab, you can play this on your own right here. Okay? Click this and then it'll be on your own time, and then we can look at your results afterwards, okay? So without further ado, let's get started. Maddie, if you're going to join us, our game pin is right here down at the bottom. If you're just going to hang out, that's fine too. So blank is a feature like eye color or wing shape. Okay, so just talk about this one here. So characteristic is the general, if you want to call it a category. So that would say be like eye color and wing shape. So a lot of you chose the trait, and a trait is a specific example from that category. So for example, characteristic would be eye color. A trait would be maybe blue eyes or brown eyes. Okay. So think of characteristic as a category, and trait is the specific, maybe a specific answer from that category. Okay. That was a good one. That was tough. Okay, I need to move up our stuff here. I'm gonna push next. Okay, perfect. Everyone is off to a really great start. You guys are also allowed to have your notes in front of you, although as this, it'll probably slow down your answers, but that's fine. Okay, question 2, a blank is a variation of a characteristic. You can think of it as a type of characteristic. There we go. Good job, guys. So a trait is a specific type or a variation of a characteristic. So remember, variation just means that it's different. So it's a different kind of a characteristic based from that same category there. So for example, the trait itself is, as I said, the blue eyes, green eyes, or even like talking about brown hair. Okay. Now we've got some people on the board. This is exciting stuff.
Chunky Wonky is coming.
True or false? Blonde hair is an example of a trait. Good. So if you're looking for, say, an example of a characteristic, we would be asking for hair color. But in this case here, we were very specific about what we were looking for, which is part of that definition of that trait. Good job, guys. Mitchell in the lead with Anna clicking close second. Zombor third. Eye color is a heritable trait. Good job. So you get your eye colors from your parents. We're gonna, in the next couple lessons, we're gonna talk about how we get those eye colors, or what really determines, like, how do you know if you get your mom's or your dad's. We're gonna talk about that in, I think it's actually the very next lesson. Yeah, it'll be exciting.
I'm kind of excited too, actually.
This is a fun part of the unit. I really like this. You guys are actually going to look at when we get to our genetic conditions part. I'm going to get you guys to do a color, like a color blindness test, and I'm kind of excited to see where everyone falls. So, all right, we have Mitchell still in the lead. All right, what are the 2 types of variations in characteristics? This one's a hard one.
I just guessed. Alex, what are you doing?
I'm jamming to that sweet music.
That was very tough. Okay, so just talk about this one here, is that we can break down like variations in characteristics, or we can break down traits into being either discrete or continuous. That's actually also some math language that when you guys get to start to do your graphing units, you guys might, Ms. Lamb may or may not introduce that language, but discrete means that there is exact answers and there's nothing in between. So say, for example, if we were looking at, say maybe the number of jelly beans in a jar, you wouldn't say that there's, and I guess assuming that they're whole pieces, but you wouldn't like chop one in half and then throw it out and say we've got half of a jelly bean. I guess this is kind of a bad example, but you would typically just count whole things. And I guess maybe if I could say, let's talk about people. This is a little bit easier because even if you were to remove a limb from somebody, they're still a whole person. So they would be example, like you would count one person, two people, or two people, three people, four. You wouldn't say that's one person, you're maybe about 3/4 of somebody. So we'll say 1.75, now we're at 2.75. You wouldn't do that. That person's just a whole person, okay? So that would be an example of discrete. Whereas if you were to have continuous, that's where you can have a wide range of values. And so the example I gave you there was, in your notes, was the height.
What the hell?
Okay.
What was
Okay,
that?
then. You know what? Sure,
It
whatever.
sounded like
This
a
is-
little
this
bit
is
something that
fine.
comes from a horror movie.
What you're
What the
doing?
hell was that?
Were you trying to
What was
mouse the
that?
microphone?
What the freak was that?
He was definitely trying to mouse the
That was like
microphone. Just
blasting
swallow it.
static.
Trying to swallow the microphone. That's exactly what whoever that was trying to do.
Gus,
Okay.
Gus, was that you?
We'll find out in the playback of the video. It'll be fine.
What just?
But anyways, okay. So I just want to go back to the, we're talking about continuous types of traits. So that is where, when you look at people's height, you could have, say, someone who's 5'2". You could have someone who's 5'3". You could have someone who's 5'4". So there's like a wide range of answers, and then they could be somewhere in between there. So you don't have to have whole answers. So a very common one there is would be your height. Another one is we talk about your shoe size. Measuring the foot itself would be a type of continuous trait that you're looking for, but shoe size itself, you can only have whole shoe sizes or half. There's no in between, so that would be a type of discrete trait. Okay, let's move on.
What was that?
That might have been me drinking water.
What? Why would
Not-
blasting
Are you
using a
static
straw?
What?
What?
Okay, let's move on.
Straw, Gus?
Water like that.
Which of the following
Yeah.
is not a type
Yeah,
of
definitely
discrete
probably
characteristic?
you.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
That's okay.
Why would blasting static come No one got that right. Again.
Yes.
On the bright
these
side,
are
I'm not the
tough.
only
So if you haven't
failure.
read the notes, we're not going to do very well. But anyway, so just to talk about one, so blood types. There's only a set number of blood types. You have A, you have B, you have AB, and then you have type O, and then there's some positive and negatives in there, but there's only like that certain set of blood types. You don't have a mixture of them, and you don't have a an ongoing set that can go on and on forever. There's just a certain amount of types of blood types, which makes that a discrete characteristic or a discrete variation. Your attached earlobe is either it's attached or not. There's no in between. It either is or isn't. And your ability to roll your tongue, either you can or you can't. Okay, there's no in between there. And that's also one kind of way that you can ask yourself if you have a discrete characteristic. Usually it's a, can you do it or can you not? It's usually a this or that, or is there only a set list? So with your height, that's what I talked about as being a type of continuous characteristic where you could have a variety of heights, and in between there, you could have someone who's 5'2", 5'1". My mom, for example, is even 5'1" and 3/4 of an inch. That's how she tells people how tall she is. I mean, she's really proud that she's at 3/4 of an inch, close to 5'2". But we could, if we were to get down to the nitty gritty, we could all have a wide range of heights. Okay. So that was a tough one. So we're gonna do our last question here. We have Mitchell still in the lead there, and in second was Zombor coming up in third.
Chunky,
So true or
chunky.
false? The environment cannot affect an organism's characteristics. Good, so that was false. So the example that I gave you guys in your notes was there was one about putting a plant in sunlight and putting one in the dark. So one would obviously flourish more than the other. Another example is that you could also temporarily change certain characteristics as well with, like, say, food, diet, and water and stuff like that. But and say even your diet can affect how tall you grow, and whether or not you're taking, say if there's any types of hormones that you're also taking, you can stunt your growth, or you can grow bigger, all that kind of stuff. So your environment and what's going on around you can affect your characteristics. for some of them only to a certain extent, but definitely your environment can have a slight impact on your characteristics and your traits. Okay, so let's see who our champ here is. The third place was Zombor. Clap it. Mitchell in second, Dad.
What? How did I get what?
Hey! Great job, guys.
Leave alone with a
Awesome.
strange name.
Can you stop recording this?